All right.
All right, I can press it now. Great. Cool. It's loading. All right, cool. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Nice. All right, cool. I think I'll just start. So, hi guys, welcome. And it's so exciting to talk in this event. So, today I'll be talking about creating impactful augmented reality experiences with animation and how animation play a big part in immersive technology. So, first off, to introduce myself, hi, my name is Sarah Tan, and yeah, I'm born and raised in Malaysia and KL. That's why it's really exciting to be talking about like design in my home country. But I'm currently based in Australia, so I'm from Melbourne at the moment. And basically, I'm a graphic designer turned UX UI designer, where I design apps and websites for my day-to-day job. And at the side, I love developing AR and VR experiences and basically just pushing the boundaries of tech. And basically, my aim is to try to make a positive impact through design, which is because I believe that design can be a powerful tool to influence emotions. So I think to start off, like I'll probably say a little bit about how I got into AR. So grew up in Malaysia, and in 2015, I got the opportunity to come to Australia to study. So I came here as an international student and majored in communication design, which is kind of like a graphic design course. So after I graduated, I got a job at Google. So I moved from Melbourne to Sydney, and basically what the job that I had was in Google was with a department called the Google Creative Lab. And basically it's quite a funny job because I have this 1 year contract in Google Creative Lab. And basically the whole of my 1 year is basically for me to experiment with tech, and especially with the year I got into Google, AR was quite the hype. So for the whole year, I just play around with AR tag and also play around with AR Core, which is Google's AR platform. And I just like fell in love with AR because I think it's such a good like visual add-on and design, but like in a totally like immersive and a different form. So after that, I just kind of continued with my AR journey and also transitioned into UX UI design. And yeah, did a lot of projects in AR, and also one of my projects got featured on the news in Australia, where I made a augmented reality train map based on Sydney's train map system. So yeah, ever since I got the news coverage, everything just blew up, and I just like knew that this is my chance to go into AR. So I think to backtrack a little bit, let me kind of explain what is augmented reality in the first place. So I think most of us here, like looking at the Figma file as well, I can see that a lot of us or a lot of people watching are designers. So I'll probably explain it in kind of like a layers Photoshop form. So imagine you have a phone and you have like Photoshop layers at the side. And always imagine that the base layer is the camera feed, and something appearing on top of it is like a graphic where you place in your reality. So AR is always experienced through a phone, and it can experience through AR glasses as well, but it's dependent on your camera feed and having a graphic lay over it. So it's just kind of like having like something on the top layer of your Photoshop file on your base layer, which is your camera feed. So yeah, that's quite a simple explanation. And to make things like simpler, I feel like there's a lot of people who know more about virtual reality. And the main difference between virtual reality and augmented reality is that virtual reality is 100% immersive. So you have to wear goggles to kind of have this 100% immersive environment, whereas AR can be accessible through phone. So it's only 50% immersive. So yeah, that's like kind of like a very basic explanation of AR. And to start off my presentation about animation in AR VR, I kind of just want to pose a question to everyone here to kind of compare these two images on the screen. One is with animation and one is without animation. So AR can be experienced in many forms, and one of the main form is having like a 3D model on your table and imagine it animated and not animated. Like, what do you think is more engaging? So like what I'll go through today is basically to say like how animation can make an impact in 3 ways, and also 3 tips and tricks where you can bring it along to your journey if you want to get into AR or if you just want to learn more about animation. So let me just get started. The first one is how animation can make an impact. And the first method is animation allows you to tell a story. And I'm sure a lot of people grew up with this kind of movies, Pixar, Disney, and they're all like animated stories. It's really like kind of like give a nostalgic feeling, and you always remember all these stories from your childhood. So why is storytelling so important? It's because studies show that we are more wired to remember stories than data, facts, and figures. So that's why like there's a lot of strategy out there where you have to tell a brand through a story or tell like a story to explain your product design process. It's because story works, and it works like countless times, and people are more susceptible to stories when you tell them a nice story like Pixar and Disney. So following up from that, earlier this year, I had a AR art exhibition where I hosted myself. So it's a solo art exhibition, and my goal is to basically spread social awareness using AR and stories. So I have this gallery full of my illustrated works, and basically what I want the audience to do is use their phone and point at those illustrated works, and basically an AR animation will come out. And this experience has taught me a lot about how storytelling can fit into AR and how animation fit into the process too. So one thing I kind of like take away from this is that I have this illustrated artwork here where I display and everyone can see it. But once the audience put their phone up and point into the artwork, they can see the artwork animated in AR. So to backtrack a little bit, this piece is about mental health, and basically like for the illustrated artwork, it shows like colored masks, which represents the different emotions that you kind of like wear to cover up your real feelings. And if you see the animated artwork in AR, you can see the mask becoming gray and floating around. And they're also floating outside of the artwork itself with a little like highlight on the little like person inside the person. So through this method of storytelling and using animation, like I got to kind of tell a story to my audience, and basically using animation in AR to tell a story of what I want to convey. And secondly, I feel like animation is a great way to capture attention. So statistics shows that if a video and image are both available on the same page, 72% of people will actually watch the video. So it goes to show that video is quite an important like emotional tool to get people's attention, and it works like time and time again in like social media marketing, Facebook ads, and a lot of like things like product design as well, like animation, like movie trailers. It just works in a lot of different industries. And in the AR industries, I feel like this could live in the face filters realm. So another thing that I like to do is I like to make face filters for Instagram. So the thing is, the face filters like on Instagram, I'm not too sure if you guys have played with it, but all of them are actually augmented reality. So yeah, I feel like this is a good way to capture attention and also like a fun way to engage with other people as well. And there's also a lot of statistics that show that brand engagement actually increase when you have a face filter and these people are more susceptible to like buy your product. Like from the first image, like at the most left here, I did it with a client called Bailey Nelson, which is a eyewear company in Australia. And here we kind of like modeled different like 3D glasses that is similar to their brand. And yeah, this basically is a campaign for people to let them try out their new range of glasses. So yeah, like animation can play a part of that in terms of marketing and capturing people's attention. So next, I feel like a lot of people also notice that animation can enhance the user experience. So speaking in a 2D form like an app, like in product design, there's a huge talk about animation and also like Lottie files like Gabby's gonna talk about later, where people use animation to enhance an experience. And I feel like for me as a user as well, I feel so like delighted to see this kind of animations played out. And it goes to show that designers put a lot of like attention to detail and thought into their animation instead of just like 2D screens flipping and like switching into each other. So in terms of enhancing a user experience with animation like in AR, I've just finished a project with Adobe where I made this set of AR animations and also used their 3D program to create this artwork. So basically, I use Adobe Aero to animate these 3D objects, and I feel like it enhances the user experience by making them more connected to the quotes and making them more connected to the typography involved. And yeah, this gives a very like cool and enjoyable experience, which is very important in terms of like giving a good like experience to other people in product design. So yeah, after like showing you how animation plays a part or how animation affects the users that way, here are some tips and tricks where I can show you guys how to basically get into animation or AR if you're interested. So the first tip is quite like simple. Like I feel like it talks a lot into like the UX space as well, where you have to put yourself in the shoes of the user. So like I think a good question to ask yourself before like thinking about doing an animation is basically thinking what would your users enjoy generally. And it's good to know the target market that you're designing for and also like what suits them. So like in the AR sense, like before I kind of animated my AR experiences, I basically keep all this in mind, and I feel like it like translate well to the 2D app version as well. So in AR, I would like to keep my animations in the same spot so users won't have to move around too much in the AR app. So like I said before, when I gave a brief introduction about augmented reality, it relies on the camera app to put a graphic into like your phone. So by moving it too much, the AR can't really stick the graphic on your camera feed very well. And sometimes it will just like ruin the calibration and you won't get a very enjoyable AR experience. So if I have to give a tip, I would say to keep the animations in one spot so the users can just hold still and just keep there and just enjoy the animations from there. So a second one is not to have too overwhelming animations, as AR is a new territory for most people. So unlike 2D apps that you interact day to day, I feel like AR is still quite new, and it's really important to give like people a nice onboarding experience and not to like just overwhelm them at first glance. So I think it'll be good to plan out your animation journey, like probably like ease in a little bit and then only hit them hard at the end, but not too hard. So not having too much animation going around and also distracting them from the main point. And thirdly is to keep animation short and engaging, as they will be holding their phone the whole time. So like I mentioned before, augmented reality is experienced through a phone mostly nowadays before the AR glasses comes out. So it will be good to keep in mind that people will be holding their phone most of the time, and if you keep your animation too long, they would probably be tired and they probably like place their phone elsewhere, which discalibrate the AR app. So it'd be good to think about this user experience and how the users would enjoy the AR experience, and also keeping the animation engaging to keep them looking at the AR app. So yeah, next would be also, this is a good thing to think about as well, accessibility in animation. So I'm sure you guys have heard of accessibility in product design, where it's important to think about the wide range of audience and also designing to suit all kinds of people as well. So for individuals with like disorders, like motions, like epilepsy as well, that can like be like they can feel nausea or dizziness when they see too much motion. Like some things to keep in mind is that to limit flashing or flickering content. So yeah, like flashing or flickering content, like too colorful, too like contrasting. And yeah, I feel like it's good to limit them, make them probably a bit longer and just limit the overly contrasting colors. So yeah, people with epilepsy can enjoy the animation. And second choice is to have an option to stop, pause, or hide the animation. So let's say if you have like a styling direction or an art direction that you want to follow, I think a good option to compromise and to also allow other people to enjoy the experience is to have an option to like let them stop it, pause it, or just hide it. Or also basically to warn them before the animation is coming so they won't get triggered by it. And the third one is also to have the animation no longer than 5 seconds. So sometimes some people couldn't hold or their attention for more than 5 seconds. And I think it'd be good to kind of design for their purpose as well, so that a whole wide range of people could experience what you did or what you designed. So yeah, there's a lot of tips about accessibility in animation available in the W3C website as well. So it'd be good to check it out. And yeah, that's it for that topic. And now is to learn the types of animations. So this is kind of like going back to the basics, where just learning basic animation techniques. And one technique that is my absolute favorite to refer to is Disney's 12 principles of animation, where it consists of 12 principles, basically like what I have here in a GIF. So it has like different ideas that you can kind of pick and choose about like animation. If let's say you run out of inspiration, or if you want to improve your animation skills, you can follow these 12 principles. And yeah, basically, I think I followed these principles for the past few years doing animation work, and I find it really refines the animation style. So sometimes it's just good to go back to the basics and just like relearn the methods of animation that appeals to people. And yeah, the last one is basically, I'm here to suggest some tools to try out if you like to go try it out, animation or AR. So what I have here is that I've organized them in a list, or like a little like scale of from the easy to the advanced programs that you can use. So if you notice at the left side where it says easy, you can see that most of the things are 2D related. So I would say like a good entry point into animating for AR, or if you just want to start animating in general, and also if you want to put into AR, it's up to you, is that to start with 2D first. So things like Principle and basically like GIF animations that you can just like hack it together through like Photoshop or like Canva or even Procreate can create GIFs animation. So you can start with the 2D first. And there are also really good AR apps out there where it's just really simple. You can, like, let's say you created a GIF animation in Principle or just have a GIF in hand that you want to try out. You can basically plug it into some AR platforms out there that all you have to do is just drag and drop a file, have a phone, and you can have a 2D app straight away. So these cool programs are iJack and Artiviv. So I've tried them out personally before and it's really fun. So I think it's such a good entry point if you're interested. So the medium tier is here is what I suggest all the mostly Adobe programs here. So, and if you notice that now we are kind of in the realm of 2D and 3D, and sometimes I also like to say 2.5D, which is the middle part between 2D and 3D. So yeah, so things you can use are After Effects or Photoshop to create the animation. And also for the AR platforms, there's Spark AR and Adobe Aero. So I'll probably start off with Spark AR first. So Spark AR is basically the program that I use to create face filters on Instagram and it's developed by Facebook. So Spark AR is a great tool if you want to start with AR. You can try to create face filters or normal AR like experiences work in Spark AR as well. And Adobe Aero as well is a good kind of platform to start off if you have an Adobe subscription and can just basically like import it into Adobe Aero seamlessly through an app and control from there. So what I highlight here in Spark AR and Aero is one unique thing about them is that they have both AR and animation inbuilt into their program. So yeah, I would say like this is quite a good tool if you want to explore more into AR and animation because they too do the same thing, AR and animate. But of course you need like some sort of input to put inside like an image that you prepare beforehand or an animation you prepare beforehand. So yeah, that's good. And then the advanced tier is where you get all the heavy duty 3D stuff where you use Blender or Cinema 4D to create your 3D animations. And you can use Unity and Unreal for your AR platforms. And Unity and Unreal are game development platforms where a lot of good games are created from these two amazing platforms. So yeah, they are pretty heavy duty, but basically you can create any AR experiences under the sun. So yeah, here are some tips for you to check out if you want to get started. And like I mentioned before, I was a graphic designer turned UX UI designer and got to learn about AR. So everything here is self-taught. And I think it's great if you're a designer interested in AR because I feel like AR is still quite a new industry and there's definitely a lot of room to experiment. So that's why I feel like the entry to barrier for AR is actually quite low. So it's good that you can like brush up, post a few like experiences up, try a few methods and just see how it goes from there. And yeah, I think that's it for my presentation. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope that this has inspired you to go into AR if you've been interested in it and also to come up with great animations to engage your users in these AR experiences. So yeah, thanks. Cool. Now I guess it's time for questions.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Sarah, for that.
Yeah.
And VR talk as well. Very, very interesting.
Nice.
There is a lot of so before we dive into questions, there are a few things to remind you guys as participants. If you are trying to connect with each other offline after this meetup, feel free to do so by editing your chat bubble in Figma to include maybe links to IG or your Twitter account so that you can chat afterwards or exchange contacts and ideas, design ideas. So moving on to questions for Sarah, I think first question, I'll go from the latest one to the
All right.
this one. It will be from Sarah. Oh, okay, Istina just posted, sorry. It will be from Amanda. So what was your most challenging AR project and why is it challenging?
All right. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Let me backtrack because I have it here. um, yeah, I think like basically, I feel like my most challenging project so far is the one on the second one, which is what to eat lah, which is basically a filter on Instagram that suggests you what Malaysian food to eat. Yeah, I feel like that's one of my most challenging one because I feel like what I mentioned before, I use the program Spark AR to create these filters, and like I think like Chising and I were talking before that it's actually quite challenging in the platform if you want to create more complicated stuff like a randomizer or like let's say if you want to stop at this graphic after a certain second, what will come up. So there's a lot of like basic coding involved and like just like coding logic that you need to know. So yeah, that filter was my most challenging. And also the project from Google, which I have to use AR Core and Unity together, which is very like industry like heavy tools and it's very like non-visual kind of platform. But yeah, I think those are my two most challenging AR projects so far.
All right, that answer your questions, Amanda. Another one is from YY. Let me search. It's kind of like top there. All right. What I ask is about tooling. What tools do you use to create the Sydney Metro AR prototype? Can you talk about it a little bit on the design process and about on Metro AR prototype?
Yeah,
Metro AR. Yep.
that's a good point. Okay, let me see if I can. Yeah, it's just basically a little like if you can see there. So yeah, I think to start off, like I was like when I created it, I was probably a year into living in Sydney and being someone who's new in a new city, like I was very lost and I didn't know how to take the public transport and I'm super bad at directions. So that's why I thought that it would be cool to have like a map showing on your transport card, which you'll be holding on your hand anyway to like tap in, tap out. So yeah, it's like a Malaysian touch and go card basically. And yeah, there's no like train maps inside the station itself. So that's why like that inspired me to create a map on my Oppo card. So yeah, that time I was also like quite new to AR and Spark AR especially. So I actually used Spark AR to create this. And how I created this was basically Spark AR allows you to have a image registered. Like let's say if you say, oh, here is an emoji. If you detect that emoji, can you like send through this image? So that's basically what I did. I scanned my Oppo card, cropped the Oppo card design and put in my computer and be like, hey, this is an Oppo card image. And then when it's detected, I'll put the Sydney train map on it. So also the Sydney train map, I've taken the official train map and like just rejig it, like delete all the unnecessary info and just highlighted the train maps more like, yeah, more like clearly. And my intention of it was just to basically like post it on LinkedIn and be like, haha, look at my newfound skill. But yeah, after posting up on LinkedIn, it went viral. 7 News picked it up, and yeah, it just led to a whole like big kind of worms where I got invited to Facebook to demo my product as well. I demoed my product at Transport New South Wales, and yeah, so basically like I have zero knowledge. I just have the knowledge to design and be inspired by my own problem that I face, which is always being lost. And yeah, I think from the moral of the story is basically I feel like if there's anything that you want to solve, I think it's good to use like basic tools to just like have a video, have a demo, and just put it out there. Because yeah, you never know what will happen. And yeah, back then I was really new to AR, so yeah, anything is possible. Yeah, yeah. Hope I answer your question. Yeah.
Ah, YY says thank you. So I
Oh
guess
yeah.
you answered your question. All right.
Nice. No
Um,
worries.
so I think we move on to the next question from Istina. So the
Mm.
question is actually, how do you plan your animation, keep it looking clean and neat? Yeah.
Mm. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess like what I usually like to do, which yeah, that's a good question because I feel like before starting any animation, I like to do this where I do storyboarding. So storyboarding, like how people in the film industry would do it, is quite similar. And also how like UX people do it when they want to storyboard an experience where you have squares and each square basically you draw out a scene or an action that your user would take. So before like starting an animation, I like to basically like draw out a few squares of like, okay, this will happen and this will come out at the left hand corner and that will come out like from the bottom. And I just review it from there. And if I have a client, I just usually send them a storyboard first, get them to approve, then only I start the animation. So yeah, that's how I plan the animation. And how do I keep it looking clean and neat? I feel like that comes with a lot of like time, effort, and for me, YouTube tutorials to learn how to keep it clean and neat. So yeah, again, there's a lot of ways to do it. And I feel like what I presented before about the Disney's 12 principles of design really shows you how you organize your speed levels as well. And that would help a lot with making your animations clean and neat. Yeah. Mm.
All right. I think there is one last question from Melvin. So
Yeah.
that he has heard about tools like AE and Cinema 4D, which has like steep learning curve. So what do you recommend to do like, when to get started? What tools you recommend for like starters?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think like if let's say tools, I feel like if I were to rank it, I feel like Adobe like After Effects is easier than Cinema 4D, but I feel like a good tool to get started is Principle. So like I have Principle here and basically like I feel like all the motion graphic applications use the same logic, which is this is the starting point and this is the ending point, and basically you are like telling the program that you want this square to start here and end up here, so it will just move. So I feel like probably Principle will be a good starting point for you to learn that logic, and the same logic applies in After Effects as well. And Principle has a 14-day free trial, so you can use it. Yeah, so yeah, basically like Principle would be a good place to learn, and then go to After Effects, and then After Effects you go to Cinema 4D. And yeah, basically I rely a lot on tutorials on YouTube and just follow along the tutorials to learn it as well. So yeah, hope that inspires you to get started.
All right. So I think that's all the questions for Sarah today.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you, Sarah. Amazing talk, and yeah, hope to see you soon.
Yay, cool. Thanks for the questions too. Thanks for having me.
All right. Right. Cool. I'll right now disable your presenter mode, and we'll have a 5-minute break. And after the will come back for the second session, which is the last session by Gabby. So she is the design lead for Lottie Files. So she's she'll be talking about her topic will be what matters in product design. So if you're interested on Lottie Files and also how motion matters in product design or UI UX design, please stay tuned. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. They don't know about the traffic in my life. Please keep me straight when I am low. How we push on through the dark to the other side. My sister's getting there when I am now. It wasn't hard into my ears, yeah. Every time I'm driving down, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. All my friends are laying down with me. And I believe, I believe, I believe, I'll sing. Yeah, yeah. I'm driving down the road. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. All my friends are laying down with me. And I believe, I believe, I believe, I'll sing. Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second session. Um, I hope Gabby is here. Gabby, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. All right. Okay, at least I confirmed our second speaker's attendance. Oh, people are adding balloons. Cool.
Oh, cool.
I should have added that. But yeah. But all right. Now, I'll pass on Gabby's introduction for herself. And yeah, without further ado, Lottie is amazing. People are already excited.
I
So
agree.
yes, yes. Oh, one thing as well. Notify is giving away stickers as a reminder. If you guys just joined, Notify is giving away stickers not only to Malaysian participants but people from all around the world as well. So by the end of this session, the entire meetup will be sending a feedback form uh, where you can fill up your address and also some of the feedbacks you think we can improve for the next one. And yeah, that take it away, Gabby.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I hope everyone is having a good time and enjoying. I think it's night for most of people who are attending. As you can see, I'm in a time zone that it's still day. And I just wanted to say something that thanks to Sarah. I loved your presentation, and it's super awesome to see. Like, we never talked before, and we didn't know each other, but it's interesting to see like how our presentations interconnect with each other and how like it complements. It was super interesting to see that. So let me share my screen. Just a second. I hope everybody's seeing my screen. Is it all working? Okay. So today I'll be talking about why motion matters in product design and why I believe motion matters in product design. So a quick intro, yeah, about myself, like right there. I'm Gabriela, but I prefer going by Gabby. I am Brazilian, but I am based in Germany right now. And I am a former animator and motion designer that switched to product design, and today I work as a design lead on Lottie files. And I put there that I'm a tea drinker because I believe the world is divided into coffee drinkers and tea drinkers. And I'm always happy to find tea drinkers as well. I added, you can see like a tiny dog barking at the right bottom at my screen. Those are animations by myself that I added like throughout the presentation. It's like tiny Easter eggs. So stay tuned at the, the bottom right to see like some of my animations. So yeah, so I think like the first question some people might be asking already is why I switched from animation and motion design to product. So a little bit of my journey. So like back in Brazil, like a few years ago, I was working mostly with like entertainment and educational like industries. So I was doing animation mostly for that. But for some reason, I ended up in a tech company. So I started doing like marketing materials, so animations like for social media and things like that, things related to that. But it was the first time in my life that I got contact with a product design team, and I started like talking to UI UX designers, and this was not part of my life before that. And then I started wondering because in the marketing team we were doing like characters and mascots and things like that, and I started wondering how can we like connect everything together, and how can we bring this into the product as well, like everything that we bring to marketing, like how can we like connect everything together. And then I was like talking to the product designers and then developers as well, and everybody was like, no, this is not possible, like this is not something easy to do, you know. And then at the same around the same time Lottie came out, and I started like experimenting with it. And I'm gonna do a quick break to talk about Lottie because I don't know if everyone is familiar with it. So Lottie animations are basically code rendered as an animation. So you have a code, but then you have like a player that renders it as a visual thing that you can see. So it's a JSON based. You can export it directly from After Effects. It's multi-platform, so you can use it across like iOS, Android, a web, React Native, and it keeps the vector quality, the things of your animation. The file size is super small, so it's really changed how we deal with motion in product. It made it possible for a lot of reasons. So I recommend to check out lottiefiles.com/whatislottie, because there we have like all the timeline, like when Lottie came out. A lot of people still have questions of like, why do you call Lottie if it's a JSON? Because the file that you get is a JSON file, and then we have everything explained there. Some people think that Lottie Files is from Airbnb as well, which is this is not correct, because Airbnb actually created the players. This is getting confusing, so I think it's easier if we just like go to the website. We have everything explained to solve all those questions and confusions that can come up with Lottie. So going back to my journey, so at the same time, Lottie came out. So I started experimenting with it. So that made possible for me to put my animations inside the product, because I could just hand a code to a developer and they could implement it, and then you could see it was like magic. But I was still not satisfied, because I didn't want animations to be just like a glitter at the end. I wanted it to belong to the environment. So I started like being nosy in the product teams, because I wanted to understand like, oh, how do you draw like the journey? How do you draw like how is everything together? I want to see like your wireframes. I want to see, because I wanted to understand when and where specifically I could place an animation, and it would be like the perfect scenario for it to be. So it would not just be glitter, it would be part of the process. And yeah, so since I started like getting like too much in product design, I ended up switching, because then I fell in love. And yeah, that's how I ended up in product design. Next question is, Gabby, what are you trying to say with all that? So what I'm trying to say is that motion should be part of your workflow. It it still like can be cool, you know, if you just throw an animation to make it pretty, but you can have like better results, and you can do wonders if it's well thought and well put in your design process. So since the beginning, you evaluate like all the possibilities and when would be the best time to introduce this in your workflow. So we've been talking like about motion and motion, but what exactly is motion applied to product design, right? So I have some examples here. We have gestures. So in this example, like the swipe up, and then like we use this so often in our daily lives that we don't stop to realize that this is all motion. Like all the transitions that happens, like in your phone, like when you swipe, when you open something, when you contract something, everything has like an animation to it. And yeah, so this is the gestures. And then we also have icons, the famous menu that turns into an X. This is like a super nice interaction as well that everybody loves. So you have like icons animations that are also like well spread across. And then we also have illustrated animations. So yeah, so still not sure. So you're still not convinced that putting motion in a workflow, it's a good thing. So I brought some stuff as well to try to convince you with some principles. So it can help you give feedback. So in this example, you don't need to rely only on color and text. You could you could use motion like as a way to support the way you give feedback to your users. It shows hierarchy. I am so sorry about the low quality of this GIF, but yeah, I didn't have time to make like a better one. So like the hierarchy, it also shows like in this example, like that message opens up and then it comes back to the place where it belongs. So it shows like this is the highest thing and this is a part of it that expands, but that it contracts back to where it belongs. It also adds character to your brand. This example, like I think it's self-explanatory. Like all the way it moves, it can tell something about your brand and how you style it. Like if you have a like a funny brand and a funny message that you want to bring, you can do like more a bit more like animations and funny ones that do like some bounces and do like some some elastic effects. But then if you have like a very serious company and like a very, I don't know, sophisticated one, you can do like super like slow and like fades, like super refined stuff. So it really tells something about your brand as well. Storytelling. Yeah, this is something super cool about it as well, which is you tell a story with your animations. So in this example, like you are guiding your user like through a story inside your product. So for example, you click on the succulent plants and then it goes to your cart and then you see what is going on and you don't get lost in the timeline of what things are going on, you know. So if you just click it and nothing happens, like, do you know if this works? Was it really added to my cart or not? So if you see it visually, it's telling you a story like, oh, this is going inside your cart and now you can pay it if you want. And I think AR, VR, as Sarah mentioned in her presentation as well, like everything that she showed would not be possible if it was not emotion and animation. So I think AR VR, just for itself, it's already like a reason for it to for you to consider emotion, because this is what this is like the future, and this is what we are walking to. So for me, this is like very convincing. So yeah, answering the main question, like why motion matters in product design, because it feels natural and it feels human. Because we are on our daily basis, we are like interacting with teams all the time. We are using our phones. We are using, and there's so many things that are gonna like being introduced in the future that we still like don't know. And it's super important that it feels warmer. You know, we bring some of like the some warm human interaction. So animation like helps you feel more comfortable using something because it reminds you like of the real world and how real things react to you. So you expect like the things in your phones to react in the same way. So yeah. Another thing that I think it's super important to mention here is accessibility. I'm super happy that Sarah also mentioned that in her presentation, because I don't see many people talking about this. Yeah, so W3C has some guidelines on that. Exactly what it's exactly the same thing that Sarah showed in her presentation. Like some people have some kind of sensitiveness. So some people like can get motion sickness. Some people get like super bad reactions from something like super, yeah, like super like strong lights and super fast transitions as well. So this is something that I think people need to talk more about, because I've been like in product design, I see a lot of people talking about it, but in motion, like it's, yeah, I think it's growing now, but I didn't see many people discussing about it. One person also that it's good, it's a good reference on this. It's Val Head. I don't know if anyone knows her. I see her like on Twitter, and she writes some like good articles about like designing for like motion accessibility. So it's good to check her out as well. I can share her Twitter maybe on the chat after it. Okay, yes, I'm convinced, Gabby. I want to like do all animations inside my product, but how do I start? So my first tip would be look around you and like see how other companies are doing it, because like again, we are so used on using our stuff and not being aware of what is going on. So be really like pay attention to what those companies are doing and how they are putting motion in their workflow. So I think the ones that I put in here, for me, they are like a reference. I love the way they work with it. So Apple, Duolingo, Google, Netflix, Headspace, Uber, TransferWise, Grab, they're all amazing with the way they use motion in their products. So I'm probably missing a lot of other amazing companies, but those are the ones that came in my mind when I was doing the slides. So yeah, my first tip is pay attention to others and how they are doing it. My next my next tip is educate yourself. Material design is like amazing on explaining everything. All the examples that I showed in my presentation I got from material design, and it's super visual. Like they have lots of examples like do's and don'ts, and yeah, they explain pretty much everything from like all the principles to they also mention accessibility as well, and they also like show timing. They show like good timing, bad timing. They have like tons of examples. So of course there's other content out there, but I know it can be very overwhelming as well when you want to learn something new and you Google it and there's so many content and you don't know where to start. So my tip is start with material design on educating yourself. They are amazing. And yeah, my next one is Lottie Files, of course. Not only because I work for Lottie Files, but because you can't talk about like motion in product without mentioning Lottie and Lottie Files. So at lottiefiles.com we have a lot of tools for you to create Lottie animations. So we have a plugin for After Effects that you can export your Lottie animations directly from there. You can preview inside After Effects too. You can preview all your animations on the website to see if they are working. You can test them in your mobile as well with our mobile app. You just need to scan the QR code. We also have an amazing community that posts like free animations daily. So you have, if you don't know how to animate and you just want to like get animations, there's tons of super cool animations. We have free ones. We have a marketplace with high quality animations as well that you can buy. All the animations, I don't know if anyone noticed the small animations by myself that I put in the corner. They're all available on marketplace as well. So if you want to buy them, they're available there. We are constantly introducing new stuff. So we recently released a preset thing as well. So you just upload your SVG, your static SVG there, and we have some presets that automatically animates your SVG. So you don't even have to open After Effects to do like some simple animations. So we are constantly like hearing the community and hearing from everybody on how to solve this, because we want to make motion design accessible for everyone. So we are trying to make this like as easy as possible for people to use. So yeah, again, not only because I work for Lottie Files, because I think it's a really like amazing community around it as well. And we also have a plugin for Figma. So if you are like doing your designs on Figma, you can install our plugin as well, and you can easily get an animation and put in your prototypes and test it from there. And yeah, Again, the last tip is like on because like Lottie files that we cover most like the illustrated animations, but then like to do your prototypes and do all the transitions, here are some tools that I recommend as well. I'm probably missing some, but those are like the main ones. Sarah also shared some options, but yeah. And some are easier to use, some are more difficult, some are more, they have like a complex result as well. Like some allows you to do like super, you can control like all the curves and how the animation happens. Others are more limited and you will have like more rough transitions. But those are all worth trying out and see, like checking the what results you're trying to achieve and what you get more comfortable using. I put After Effects there because I used to do prototypes in After Effects. I don't actually recommend it because it's a lot of work, but After Effects, you can control everything. So you will have like an amazing prototype, but sometimes it's not worth it because of the amount of work that it is to do like a prototype in After Effects. I think I finished my presentation way before, and I am. We can maybe leave more time for Q&A, and so you can maybe like ask more questions. So this is my Twitter. If anyone wants to contact me there, so it's Gabby_Schmitz. I'm not the most active person on social media, but I am doing an effort, and I check my inbox, and so you can like ask me questions on there. Here I just added like 1 minute ago, basically, the stickers, because you mentioned that you didn't have like samples of the stickers that we are giving away. So I added in my presentation. Those are the stickers that we are giving. So we're going to give them internationally as well. So you just need to apply, and then we are going to send them. They are super cute. They are super like high quality printed. So they're super nice. And thank you so much. And I think that's it. I think we have questions now. So yeah, I'm here. Stop sharing.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you
Sorry again
for
for
no
finishing my
worries. Thank you.
presentation.
So, anyone
Yeah.
have any question regarding Lottie file or to Gabby? So, if I'm going through the chat right now, there's one question that said that I think you mentioned about the community. So, someone said, which community is this, and how can I join? So,
Yeah. So the community, you can just enter on lottiefiles.com. You can post your stuff freely there, and you can also apply for the marketplace, so you can sell your animations. You just need to go like through a form that you need to put up some info of yourself to sell the animations, of course. And then once you're approved, you can sell your stuff there, or you can just freely give your content. Like it's a pretty active community, so you see tons of content being posted daily. So it's really nice, and you see like people supporting each other and like commenting, and yeah. So it's just lottiefiles.com.
okay. There's one more question. Is Lottie Files plugin available in Vision Studio?
No, not yet. No. Yeah, we are constantly like expanding our plugins like availability. So today we have plugin for Figma. For After Effects, we are going to release one for Adobe Animate as well. And I think that's it. If anyone from Lottie Files is on this meeting as well, please post on the chat if I'm forgetting something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
And,
but I'm sorry, we don't have for InVision Studio. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, got it. And one more question. In terms of measuring the impact of motion graphic, what is your approach to test it, and what is the success metric?
Let me think. You mean to test if it's like if it's a good impact or not?
Yep.
Because yeah, I think mostly I didn't bring any numbers in the presentation. I'm sorry for that, but I think you need to you can test it with users and like A/B testing and uh seeing which ones have more like results and more engaging. But from my personal experience, usually people like more things that are animated. Like everybody loves to see like an animation going on. So yeah, from my previous experience, I can tell that usually people prefer that.
Yeah.
But it's always good to do like some testing as well with your
Yeah.
users. I hope this answers the
Yeah, I
question.
think also it depends on the situation. Also, like we see Sarah, what she's presenting on the AR itself, there's a little bit animation. I guess a little bit animation managed to capture user attention and probably also increase
Absolutely,
retention as well,
absolutely.
having the users stay in the app and all. Okay, nice. So do you have any more questions before we end the session? Out of Figma and
I think
Adobe XD,
yeah,
which
I am
software do
checking
you
this one.
suggest for motion design?
This one is hard because I am absolutely in love with After Effects, but I know it's such a hard tool. I know that it's not easy to use and it takes some time to learn it. But yeah, in my experience, I think it's worth it to take some time to learn it because After Effects allows you like so much.
Mhm.
It's yeah, but you can also use like Adobe Animate to do some animations as well. That might be, I think Animate will be a bit less complex than After Effects because After Effects does not only motion design, but it's a really broad software. So, but I would say that it's worth it to learn and do. We have some tutorials and some courses on Lottie files as well on how to create Lottie animations specifically because when you say like animations and Lottie animations, like Lottie animations can be a bit more limiting, so you can't use all the effects that After Effects allows you. So we also have some tutorials and courses there to create animations for Lottie. So you can also check that. Then I think After Effects is worth it.
Okay. I think there's one more question probably from myself regarding animation because I think most of the people in the attendance are probably UI UX designer and we don't usually deal with animation on a day-to-day basis, mostly like buttons and all. How do you want to convince our stakeholder to embrace or put some effort in investing in getting animators on the team to probably include some animation in the team? What is a good point and how do we want to convince our stakeholders?
That's a hard one because
Because
I know it's hard to do that. It's hard to
yeah,
convince the
because it
stakeholders.
takes time to create all those kind of animation as well, right?
Yeah, I would go with like showing big companies that are doing it and maybe like researching on their content and they look out for they explaining how this brings a value for them like the even the companies that I showed in my presentation like that they do like an amazing work and I am pretty sure that they have like motion designers working closely with the product team. So I would reach for content that they post on how this brings values from for them and maybe try to apply this in your own reality and do like a plan to show, so see like how the big companies are doing it and maybe if we do the same we can and apply this in our context and our reality maybe we can and then you can create some metrics like oh let's try and see if this achieves what we are expecting and maybe we can like start slowly and then we can like slowly convince them.
Okay, sure. I
Yeah,
think we have
I think that would be
one.
my approach if I was trying to do it.
Yeah, because if I also find it that it takes a little bit more effort to convince stakeholders, but it does take time and everything. But I totally understand that definitely we have to show what other successful companies are using motion and how they can achieve success from it. I think there's one last question that accidentally slipped in. Do you think a web app can use all their animation with Lottie if we want, or some we shouldn't use Lottie files?
I don't think I got the question. I'm sorry. Do you think a web app can use all their animations with Lottie if we want? What do you mean by some shouldn't use? Sorry, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I think maybe she meant like, does everything need to be animated, or how do we effectively decide what kind of things do we need to animate or not? Do we have like a balance to choose to have things animated or not?
Yes. Okay, yeah. So, absolutely, if you animate everything, you're gonna overwhelm your users. I think Sarah also mentioned how you can overwhelm people with those tools. So it needs to be well done and well thought. You need to think like, what is the focus? What is the main thing that we are trying to achieve with animations, you know? So I think you need to think that in your company and like in your reality, and see how it applies to you. And each screen individually, like if you're adding an animation to in a individual screen, really like stop to think like what we are trying to achieve. Like, is this like to enlighten and I don't know, just make the user happy, maybe, because maybe this is a stressful flow that the user is going and you need some like stress relief. So maybe do like a cute thing showing up. That can be a reason as well. And I don't know, any more like situations, or is it like to guide you through something, like to educate you something that you need to learn through the journey as well with your screens. So I think you need to really stop and think like, what are you trying to achieve, and how you can bring motion to support you on that and make you get where you were trying to do. I hope this answers.
Yeah, okay, nice. So to anyone that's in the chat that is currently doing animation, if you are interested in exploring Lottifile and how do you want to get your animation into product, you can visit lottifiles.com. Or is there a section, a page where we have tutorials for new people who's joining Lottifiles?
A section for people who just joined?
Yep, a tutorial or how to get started.
Yes, I can share the link. Just let me get it. We do have to, just a second. I'm sorry, I'm getting the link now.
Yep.
We do have a course, an introduction course on how to start it. I'm going to share the link here. I just shared the link on the chat if anyone.
All right.
Yeah, if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabby, for being with us. And
it's a pleasure.
Feel free to visit their website and get more stuff from them as well.
Yeah, okay. And if anyone has more questions, you can reach me on Twitter, and I can answer them there as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.